5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Full course yellow is deployed. Full course yellow is deployed.
Yes, hello everybody. Welcome to another edition of Full Course Yellow. Just get rid of that graphic there. Welcome to the program. It's sort of an interesting weekend. We've got Adelaide. The Adelaide 500 is on. We've had practice today. We'll talk about that a little bit later on. My contention is the Adelaide 500, certainly in terms of supercar events, the best supercar meeting by far in Australia. Forget about Bathurst. Forget about anything else. I haven't been to the Northern Territory, to Hidden Valley for that round yet, but a lot of people really love that. But I really think, for value for money, for all the sorts of entertainment you get, the streets of Adelaide, certainly do come alive, and they did a fabulous Grand Prix. They did an amazing race of 1,000 years for the American Le Mans Series, and since then they've done a terrific supercar race as well. Also coming up this weekend, the Macau Grand Prix, one of my favourite events that I've been to over the years, one of the strangest events I've ever been to. A couple of Australians in action, Cooper Webster and James Wharton, both running this weekend. We've had a very wet practice session just about an hour or so ago. And Cooper Webster, eighth on the grid, so really good performance in his Macau debut. But anyway, to talk about what's happening around the world of local motorsport, let's check out the panel for tonight. We've got Craig, Doc Gladigo, we've got Peter Johnson, and we also have Richard Outram. G'day guys, how are we?
Yeah, good evening, Brett. Yourself? You two are on mute below us.
Good evening, everyone. No, not anymore.
That's it. Perfect.
Yes, so we'll just have a quick day. Phil is joining us. Phil was at Sandown on the weekend.
How are you, Sonic the Hedgehog?
So, and also Box is joining us as well. If you're joining us, why not drop a comment online, say hello, and we'll say hello back, because we're nice like that. We're actually very decent people under it all, despite all the rumours. Now we have had Adelaide practice today. James Courtney was the fastest in practice. Just one practice session, which was a little weird, but I don't know, guys. I mean, what do you think about my proposition that Adelaide is the best meeting in Australia especially in terms of supercars? And I'd say probably, for the average person, for the average, casual motorsport fan, not, the hardcore marks like us, but the general motorsport fan, I think that it's far and away the best value for money race meeting in Australia. Anybody think differently?
Go, Pete.
I think any event that's the last event of the season, of any season, is going to be the best event, because it's like a party atmosphere, and it's like school muck-up day. I think Adelaide is the best track in terms of racing, and I think for that type of racing, where comparing it to Townsville and Gold Coast, I think that's the best event out of those three, where it's a single driver, pretty much a single driver endurance event, though it's not classed as an endurance event. I think it's the best event out of all of them, and I think it's a pretty good track. Yeah.
I think the other thing about it is it's in terms of variety, because it's not promoted by Supercars. It's run by the Adelaide promote it themselves, the South Australian Motorsport Board, which means that they bring in things like, this time around they've got the Trans Am, which probably Supercars would not have wanted on the circuit. They brought in the Stadium Super Trucks, and more about them in a moment. But then you've also got that party. You've got the two bands. Now, I do remember, when you used to go to these things, whether it was Adelaide or the Grand Prix or anything else, the bands were included in the price of admission. That's not the case anymore, but if you wanted to spend the money, if you have the money to spend and you wanted to go and make a weekend of it, it's not a bad little lineup. Saturday night Crowded House, Sunday night Cold Chisel.
You just stole a little bit of my storm, Brett. So I want to take the big picture approach. Richard, you have a go at this as well too. I think it depends upon your expectation, because every single event throughout the year, they don't want to be exactly the same as each other anyway. They don't want to do it the same way Adelaide does it, because they're boring if every Supercars race. So Townsville, for example, they like their Outback theme and they get their great big stage with their country music. If you go to Seven's Paradise, it's sort of an adult theme with the party atmosphere and the streets and stuff like that.
Well, it used to be.
Well, yeah, I'm sure it does, just at a lesser level. But you there's probably you get the binoculars.
Hello, Nurse Betty, if you're watching.
Anyway, and then you go to I think Sandown lacks its rival, the old retro round now. That everyone's been saying for a long time now. Bring back the proper retro round. So, I mean, they could give a theme. They've all had their theme. And when I took my little girl along to one years and years ago, I think what has been called for a lot lately is the family theme stuff. So we had the Lightning McQueen thing was there all weekend. So it was great big sort of Disneyland type atmosphere for kids. And so mum and the kids, or your dad, and the kids are like that. You had to drag the kids away. They could sit there. They do play things for hours. There was bloody video games. There was bloody little bikes to run around on. There's so many activations for the kids. So every single different part of Australia has their own thing. And as Brett, you said, you brought up about the music. You go to one or two of the events, and they have a huge concert stage and big nights and big bands and big names. Whereas you go to another round and they have nothing as far as music goes whatsoever. Or then you go to the band, you've got some speedway and you've got some drags now. Or you go. So everyone has their own different concept on how it should be promoted and what it should be like. So I don't think Adelaide is the best, but it, in my opinion. But for Brett, it might be, or for Richard, or for about 20,000 other people, it might be. But for another 50 other thousand people, they might like another different event, and so forth and so forth. It depends upon your expectations.
Yeah, I just think in terms of the variety and all the rest. I mean, going back, when I think of, they ran a fabulous Grand Prix, and you talk to anybody who went to the Adelaide Grand Prix, a lot of them will say, even people here in Melbourne will say, look, in terms of atmosphere, and what Pete said is to an extent, because it was the last race of the year, and that does sort of bring that party atmosphere. But even when they lost the Grand Prix, I mean, we had the American Le Mans Series race there, which to my mind is still far and away the best race meeting that I've been to in Australia. It was absolutely incredible, and it was a massive party atmosphere. It was New Year's Eve, so of course it's going to be a party atmosphere, but it was great. I mean, it was so friendly. Everybody loved it. And then even sort of back in the days when we actually got when we actually, believe it or not, did get accredited media status with Supercars back in Tony Cochrane's day, went to quite a few of the Adelaide 500, and they were always fabulous meetings, great atmosphere, lots of entertainment, and particularly atmosphere on the track. You had things like supercarts and sports sedans, and they always brought in something a little bit different that you didn't see at most other supercar events, and it just had that totally different feel.
Come on, Richard.
Well, that was
without expanding on the grid girls a bit. Come on, Richard, give us your opinion.
I think I love the V8s on the long track. That was really good. I thought it always lost a little bit when they went to the shorter track.
Yeah.
But come on, how many sadists love sitting watching turn 8 now? Just who can push the concrete barriers back the furthest?
Well, today the concrete barriers were pushed back by trucks. The stadium super trucks are back, and they're one of the things that they've brought back, which is hugely popular with the
audience
crowd.
Adore them.
Yeah, they love them, but I mean, Motorsport Australia not so keen, and already there's a bit of an investigation going on, and there is some doubt whether the super trucks might even run for the rest of the weekend, because if you remember, they were effectively banned for a couple of years, and then there were some changes made which made Motorsport Australia a lot happier in terms of their safety and all the rest of it. But you had two very big.
Brett, do you reckon it had something to do with the fuel cell thrown into the middle of the track instead of actually at the barriers today when it exploded? So if it exploded if they threw it at the barriers and exploded, it could actually have hit someone or caught fire or burnt someone. Whereas when it got thrown into the middle of the track, and a big explosion that way. Whereas their aim isn't very good at the moment with their fuel cells and explosions.
Well, the fact that it came off at all is not a good sign. And as was pointed out, had it have it was fairly lucky that it did go back onto the track and ended up on sort of the other side of the circuit, and it didn't sort of get launched over the fence and into the crowd. Otherwise, or even into just the catch fencing, because it could have been a really, really bad incident. Otherwise, as
well,
it
it's
turned
a shot front in Melbourne every day of the week here. The tobacco wars.
Well, yeah, but
imagine what that would do to the insurance policies.
Well, that's the thing you've got to worry about now, and I think that's the thing that Motorsport Australia are clearly going to be worried about. They're going to be I imagine they're going to be sitting down with the organisers of there and saying, look, how can this happen? I mean, so one of the arguments that's being used by the category itself is that the drivers haven't had the opportunity of racing them for a long time, and they race them, of course, right across America. They're very, very popular. They're over there, and they sort of said, look, we don't really have these hassles in America. Yes, trucks roll over and hit the wall and all the rest of it, but that's part of they're built for that sort of like thankfully, because Matty Mingay, I mean, had that terrible accident in America in one, and he's had this other one today, but he was uninjured. A bit shaken up, but apart from that, and Shay Davies was also walked away from it. So people are saying, hey, look, no harm, no foul. Okay, we've lost a couple of trucks, and it was spectacular, and yes, it could have, certainly you would have to have a really hard look at the reason for the fuel cell to come away like that. But apart from that, I mean, it's, as I said, look, it's just, lots of cars are going to crash there over the weekend, and there won't be anywhere near the sort of carry on that there is because of the super trucks.
I'm just trying to find that footage.
Can I suggest that with Trans Am running at Adelaide, that would be making the V8 supercars a bit nervous, because the Trans Ams the other weekend were going around Bathurst in 2 minute dead or just over, a bit quicker than the V8 supercars. That make them. I'll make them nervous.
I didn't think they were quicker. I'll have to go back and look at that, because normally they're quite a deal slower. I mean, they don't have the handling. They certainly don't have the aerodynamics of the. They're certainly. I mean, yes, they'd be straight. They'd be fast in a straight line because they don't have the aerodynamics, and they've got they've got similar sort of power. Albeit that they produce it, a hell of a lot more effectively, a lot more cheaply than the ridiculous price they're paying. It was one of the arguments. Jason Bright always used to say, "Why the hell aren't we just running crate engines from America? We can pick up a Ford engine from Roush for $17,000. The bloody thing will run all year. Get two of them. We're laughing."
Get the idea there, Richard? It's got glare on the screen, but you can see the truck.
That was a big
sort of halfway upside down. There's the fuel cell.
One fuel tank on fire, skipping down the middle of the track.
Skipping down the middle of the track.
That's just a shot without a
that's
video.
Probably.
And another truck did come over
for the news, but.
Oh yeah, I mean, in terms of like spectacular stuff, they always say, the supercars never get coverage on the television, on the news. You never hear anything about it. Yeah, I bet you that got some news tonight. I mean, it's the old saying in news in general: if it bleeds, it leads. It's the same sort of thing. If there's a spectacular crash, particularly if there's fire involved, We're running that, that's for sure. But anyway, but yeah, so good. So James Courtney, Pete, did you watch the practice session today?
No, I was out all day. I've only just got up with it now.
Yeah, I was the same. I didn't see. It was a bit strange. I mean, having the one practice session on the Thursday seemed a little bit weird. I mean,
What was on the car besides practice? Did they have much support category stuff? I didn't look.
Practice. I think for pretty much everything. Carrera Cup practice.
Right.
We got some of the results down the bottom. Carrera Cup practiced, Super 2, Trans Am. Todd Hazelwood was fastest in the Trans Am from James Moffat. From Jordan Boys and
How
James
did
Moffat.
Herney go? He's been slowly climbing up as a privateer again. There you go.
Yeah,
so
fourth.
He was strong on the weekend up at Bathurst. I was really good. So Nathan joined us a couple of years ago, and he's a great guy. A very a dedicated athlete. Herney is.
Well, we've been lucky. I mean, we've been able to get hold of Trans Am drivers. We can't get hold of Supercar drivers, but the Trans Am drivers, Elliot Barber and Jackson Rice and all the rest of them, we've had no problem about getting most of those guys in. So
even Jackson Evans joined us when he's been doing his Ferrari stuff as well too, because he's switching between his GT3 stuff and he's also. But
he's going to run, of course, again. He's re-signed for the Supercars next year. But yeah, it's interesting that they've already announced, Trans Am have already announced their calendar for next year, and they'll be back at Adelaide next year as well. And it's interesting, they are going to be at a couple of Supercar rounds, and it looks like TCR are going to be at a couple of Supercar rounds as well. So it looks like that's all going to sort itself out. Both TCR and Trans Am will have somewhere to race. They're only going to run about 6 rounds, which I think is probably enough at that level, because otherwise you've got to pull together a really big budget, and the money just isn't there, as we well know on In Pit Lane. Right now, the money is simply just not out there in terms of sponsorship. So
all the way from the top to the bottom.
Yeah, so that's the problem.
That was evident on the weekend at Sandown to a certain extent, and I think it will carry over until probably at least mid next year, maybe late next year, because without banging the drum again week after week and time after time, the banks are now starting to look at, and this is obviously related to everyone in life, as banks are starting to look. One of them has jumped today and started dropping interest rates before even the Reserve Bank is, and they've got every right to put them up or put them down. Obviously, they won't put them up because they've got competition, and the whole of Australia will just switch. Well, maybe switch banks, but yeah, it's certainly pinching everyone. And Brett's been saying for most of the year, and we all agree with him, that competitors and teams and sponsors have all got to pick and choose on where they support and how they support and for how long. So it's I think until maybe mid next year, and then the carry on won't filter through until probably the end of next year, when people might have an extra pineapple in their wallet from time to time.
I mean, everybody's carrying on about sort of having more rounds of Supercar. We're getting sort of one extra round next year, but the fact is, people have got to be able to afford to run these things, and that's a problem that Supercars have got. I mean, if they stretch out, it's all right for them. They can probably find the money to stretch out 1 or 2 extra rounds. But then there's all their support categories as well, and they're sort of, particularly for places like Perth and Hidden Valley, and even to an extent Tasmania, they're putting up their hand and saying, we really do need some support categories to come along, and a lot of the support categories is going, that's great, but we can't afford to go to Perth. We don't have that money. Perth is a lot of money. Tasmania is a lot lot of money. And
their overseas program that they're always promoting is even more money. So
well, at least in that case, if they went to Singapore, they'd be just going by themselves. Although who knows? With things like Porsche, with Carrera Cup and all the rest of it, they might be interested in putting their hand up as well. But I think that it's going to be hard for them to add too many extra races, and we've just got right now at the state level. I mean, and with historic racing, as we said this week on on the show in our story on the Sandown Historic. We've got a full feature-length story on the historic Sandown, and it was probably the worst turnout that I've seen for a long time. I mean the place is normally absolutely packed. You can't get a spot in. More often than not, it's like, oh, you can't get. We can't get you into the pad. There's no spaces left. There's no parking, and the place is absolutely jam packed. Wasn't jam packed on the weekend. There was tons of spaces around. They still wouldn't let us in, mind you, but there were absolute places everywhere to get in, and a couple of good fields, but. Yes, obviously Formula 5000s, they started out with, I think we had 12 entries, and then by the time the cars hit the track, we were down to 8, and then the first race we had 6, and then, second race Sunday, when I got there at 10:30, waiting for them to come out, it was like, oh, hang on, there's 5 of them, and then went down to Dandenong Road in the afternoon for the last race, and there were 4 of them rocked out, and when Rod Carroll's car had some problems, his beautiful old Lola had some problems somewhere around the other side of the circuit, we were down to 3, and that was a bit disappointing and a bit of a joke. We also there were way too many of these damn silly, this is something that I get, these damn silly tribute cars. It's becoming ridiculous now. It's like, oh, look, there's Alan Moffat's Mustang. Oh, hang on, there's Alan Moffat's Mustang. Oh, there's another, there's 4 Alan Moffat Mustangs out there. It's like, oh, is that John Goss's car? Oh, no, there's another John Goss. It's becoming ridiculous. I mean, I don't mind if they're replicas. If the original car is gone, like Brian Thompson's Volkswagen, by all means, by all means, rebuild it, have it registered have it logbooked as the official rebirth of that particular car, and that's it. But I've been told that there's possibly 3 other people building Brian Thompson replica Volkswagens at the moment, and a couple doing Alan Grice, Frank Gardner Corvairs as well, and it's going to get ridiculous.
They're all competing for a trophy. Whoever can get the most judged as the closest to the original concept as possible. That must be,
my friend was one of those ones with the Alan Moffat tribute cars.
Yeah, I know, and that's fine. Everybody wants one.
I didn't see any. I saw a Colin Bond tribute, but I didn't see an Alan Moffat there. I saw a Colin Bond there. They had number 2.
Yeah, there was a Mustang. There was a Mustang there. Another Mustang.
And the XB.
There were 3 Brock.
There was the XC Colin Bond one.
Yeah, that was there. I mean, they look great. I mean, there's nothing, but they're not the real. They're not the real cars. And if they're not the real cars, they should be well and truly labelled as being not the real cars. And they should say this. Well, I did say in the program that this was a tribute, which is fine, but. It's like going to a concert somewhere now. Ladies and gentlemen, the Rolling Stones, and suddenly out come a whole bunch of impersonators, and it's like, I paid $600 to see this, and that's not Mick and that's not Keith.
Yeah, I
paid my 2 bits to see a high diving act, and
the argument is, if you want to see Keith, you pay the money to see Keith because he's bloody. He's a living absolute legend, or he's a completely off the charts human being. So you just want to, if you want to see Keith, you really want to see Keith, not just some sort of bloody Michael Jackson copycat.
Yeah, I mean, I've just seen a lot of tribute bands over the years. I mean, a lot of them are fun. I mean, a lot of them are a great night out. Some of them are really, really good, and it's great to see. Some of them are really, really bad, and that's just almost as entertaining. I mean, I remember I told the story before of filming a Kiss tribute band in on the days of chart-busting 80s. I was in there helping them out, and I was doing some camera work for them, and I was sitting there and I was filming, Gene Simmons and it was just, it was like, it looked and sounded and everything absolutely legit Kiss, and they were just, it was fantastic, great entertainment, but you knew that it wasn't Kiss because they didn't call themselves Kiss. I think they were called Dynasty. But yeah, they were there. SB talking about state stuff. Island
I'm
Magic.
just looking it
I
up
haven't.
now. I'm
Yeah,
looking
I
it up
haven't
now.
heard. I haven't heard that Island Magic will be televised.
Just
Certainly,
not.
I've had. There's been nothing that I've seen in the press releases that Pyark have sent out to us, and I've seen nothing online. So
No,
it
I'm
might
going
be.
through. I'm going through it now too. I can't see anything as well though too.
Yeah, so I'm not sure. I'm not sure what's going on. I've heard from a few people that once again, because of the money situation, that that there are some. Perhaps not everything will be on Blendline. So you see, New South Wales. I mean, they all their state rounds were on Blendline TV up until and I think this year. And I mean, you've got to find the money to pay these things. I mean, as we well know. It's like people come and say, "Oh, well, you do a live stream of our son." It's like, yeah, oh, it's got to be good. Yeah, okay, we can do it good. Yeah, it's going to cost you $30,000. Yeah, I mean that's somebody's got to pay for this stuff, and ultimately at the moment, if you can't find a sponsor who'll cover it. Ultimately, it's the competitors, and a lot of the competitors are saying, no, we're not going to kick in an extra, $150 each on our entry fees, which are already ridiculously high, just in order to do some streaming. So, yeah, as far as I know, there's no coverage of Island Magic. What there might be is there might be some stuff coming from Geelong Revival. That we might be providing. We've been talking about doing at least a pit walk down there like we did at Sandown, and once again
2,000 views now, Brett, of pit walk at Sandown. There you go.
Yeah, that's it. We've also got I put up the string, just the raw footage, just the string, what we call in editing, video editing, the string out, where it's basically you just drag all the good shots that you're going to use into one timeline, so you can basically see them all in one spot. So I decided to put that up, and that's had close to 3,000 already. Our Baskerville show has now, last time I looked, had over 4,000.
No, so your pit walk at Baskerville's sitting on 2,700. The little bit that you did live as well too is on 1,100, and the input lane.
These are the actual these are the shows.
On YouTube,
yeah,
right?
On YouTube.
Yeah, but
anyway,
our Sandown one is Sandown one is getting more and more popular. Good on it.
Yeah, so we might go there, but once again, they're in problem. Like talking to the guys from Geelong, their numbers and their sponsorship is down. I mean, he was saying that there were some features that they've had over the past few years that they've either had to wind back a bit or drop altogether because they just couldn't get the sponsorship, basically to run it. So. But it'll still be good. I mean, if it's a nice day, it's a fabulous day down at Geelong. You want to go down there? It's free. I mean, just head.
I think the most, other than the strip, and you get the sort of the whatever quarter. Well, I can't remember exactly how long it is. The gentleman that was representing them at Sandown had a little stand there. Brett and I liaised on with him for a minute and indicated that we were going to be coming down, but the car shows get behind it as well, though, too. So they're allowed an allocation of area further on down towards the beach, the forefront there, which we do a lot of stuff with Cadell Evans later on next year. But you do get to see a lot of vehicles that come from the western side of Victoria that don't usually make it to the city slickers area. So I would recommend if you want to see something different. Plus, Brett and I've done it a couple of times. One really fantastic thing about it is the view you've got of the course as well, though, too. So it's got a slight curve to a bit of a dogleg to it, but you can stand directly above it all the way along the fence line and look down upon the course and get a great view of the foreshore and the course itself. And so it's very intimate. You can get pretty close to the festivities, can't you, Brett?
Yeah, it's a great day. It always has been. Back in the days of the Geelong Speed Trials, it was always a really good meeting, and unfortunately it got caught up in a bit of local politics and all the rest of it. Now, thankfully, they have brought it back. So I hope that it goes well. But unfortunately, it is the same weekend as Isle of Magic once again, which will take away. It's very close. We've had, as I said last week, we had the Bend historic, the classic at the Bend. Then we had Baskerville the week straight afterwards. We had Sandown last week. This weekend, another great meeting, the historic Rob Roy, another great weekend of racing. Now, I imagine that there are a few people who are saying, well, do we do historic Rob Roy, or do we do, like Geelong? I don't know. We've lost Pete somewhere along the track.
He was on the lag a bit, remember? So he's probably decided to reboot.
Yeah, so we might be having a reboot. So we'll get him in as soon as he comes back. But anyway, that's the situation. That's the situation there. If you can get down to Geelong, go on down and have a look at it and support it, because we'd hate to lose it again. It was a great thing. Also, the same weekend is Motorsports and Masterpieces as well, which I hadn't even put down for accreditation for, because we've just got so many other things on. Peter's back with us again, so yeah. So anyway, there is a lot. Motors and Masterpiece is the replacement sort of for Motor Classica, and that's going to be at the Melbourne Showgrounds, which I think is a really bad venue to have it. I just don't think. I think it's going to be too spread out. I might be wrong, but I haven't heard. They were
talking about, you did the launch, didn't you, Brett, with the themes?
Yeah, we did the launch of the event at the Fox Museum. And it was really great. They're obviously there'll be some fabulous cars there, but I just wonder about that venue being a little bit too big and a little bit too spread out all over the place. They've got to sort of fill it. And also,
they're going to do 10 feature car themes.
Yeah.
So the 10
it's a fast of a place to get to, too.
Well, La Dolce Vita, or what else? I'm not going to go through them all. That's just the first one. But, but it is over 3 days. So, I assume when they say the 22nd to the 24th, they're giving it the Friday the option too. So if you do, you're a part-timer, or you're only a 4-day-a-weeker, or you're retired, whatever you may be, you can probably do the whole 3. You can do, if you need that much of a dose of it for your medication for motorsport, you go to that on the Friday.
Well, normally we would. I mean, this is the thing. This is one of the problems we've got with the show at the moment, is we just can't afford to go to all. And in the old days, it would have been, okay, we're going to go to Motor Classic, we're going to go to the press day for Motors and Masterpieces, and we'll do a story there. Then we'll head down to Geelong on Saturday, and then Sunday we'll go down to Phillip Island. If you add all of that up, that's going to cost us over $1,000, and we don't have $1,000. So at the moment,
they're doing a family fun day as well, though, too. They're stating that they've got over $100 million, which is sometimes not hard, though. Anyway, over $100 million of cars and bikes handpicked from all over Australia. So anyway, I'd like to go, but it's going to be difficult with only 2 days and those 2 traditional events with Geelong and Phillip Island on the cars to be able to squeeze a Friday, and especially if it's the range of hours for the Motors and Masterpieces, it's 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. as well. There you go.
Yeah, it'd be nice if they ran the public transport out there. I don't think they're going to do that. So if you want to go, you can get a tram fairly close by and then walk up. But even so, it's quite a distance out of Melbourne. I went to a trade show there. I went to a television industry trade show there earlier in the year, and it took me the best part of 3 hours to get there. Just train to bus to train onto tram, and then another tram, and
the new Lambo is going to be there. The new Lamborghini is going to be there. Oh.
And the other
Pete, you're right.
The other problem is it's Las Vegas Grand Prix, which the time zone is like 1 o'clock in the afternoon and 5 o'clock in the evening, and so.
Oh yeah, because they run it at all strange times, don't they? It actually turns out to be not a bad time for us.
For evenings, yeah.
Yeah, so I'd forgotten about that. And we've got this week, of course, apart from Adelaide, we've also got the Macau Grand Prix, as I said before. That'll be televised live on the FIA YouTube channel. So watch that. There'll be all sorts of places. We'll put some links up at some stage because it's an amazing event. Not just the Grand Prix itself, which has the drivers that you'll be talking about in Formula One in the next sort of 3 to 4 years. They're all competing at Macau. It's a very prestigious event, but also with the FIA World Cup of GT racing, which is basically an invitation-only event where each of the manufacturers are invited to submit 2 teams and they race through the streets of Macau. And you might remember a couple of years ago in that particular race, one of the most bizarre crashes which took out the entire field pretty much. It's a very, very tricky, very, very dangerous track, but it does produce fantastic racing. And it's also the most... it's also the most bizarre race meeting that I've ever been to. And as I said before, it is really like if the local, without offending the local mothers club, or if they still have those sorts of things.
Got some news, but just on the Motors and Masterpieces, I just sort of did a little bit of digging. Quickly, if we wanted media accreditation, Brett had to be done by 5 p.m. on the 5th. Bad luck, rubber duck, it's November 5th. It's a long time gone.
Long time ago, yeah.
They are doing, without getting into the nitty-gritty, because there's so many options here for passes for families and multi-day sort of things. They are running it, because it did state on the front page it was only running between 10 and 5. However, I've just come up across this thing here. On Saturday, they're doing a $49 after 5 p.m., which is running between 5:30 and 9:30 on Saturday. And they're doing a VIP lounge like they used to do at the motor show at Carlton. However, they're doing even cocktail party passes as well too.
Yeah, so, lovely. Yeah,
6:30 to 9:30 on the Friday. So you can have
that'd be very, very nice. Yes, I'm sure it'll be lovely. Lovely.
Yeah, cocktail.
Yeah,
party.
Look, I'd like to
a normal single day. Normal single day pass. Let's just see. Well, 3-day pass is $103, so maybe break that down for, where is it? General admission for just a one person. So $59. There you go.
So there you go. So if you want, to go along, that is there will be some beautiful cars there. It'll be interesting to see how they pull it all together. But unfortunately, as I said, we won't be able to make it. It's just this year. It's unfortunate, but just outside the budget.
Someone's got to change their weekend for it to all fit.
Well, this is the thing. Somebody's got to change. Everybody needs to get together and work, whether it's at the state level, whether it's the historic guys. People have got to get together and work out a plan to make sure that there is suitable time,
less clashing.
Breaks and less date, so that so the officials can turn up, so the spectators can turn up, so the competitors can turn up, so everybody can turn up. As it is at the moment, I mean, the poor bloody officials, talking to a few of them at Sandown on Sunday, and they're just absolutely shot right now.
Well, half of them would be in Adelaide at the moment, so half of the ones that they get their subsidies and get everything paid for would be over in Adelaide getting that done, and then your leftovers have got to be, if they're all doing that, and they come back and they've got to back it up next week with the two events we're talking about. I was talking to a recognised member of the organisation. It happens to be the guy that swiped your card on the weekend, before, like I did, Brett, when we got our Sandown stuff. So I won't mention names, but AJ is a great bloke, and we've known him for years. And AJ, I had that conversation with him a couple of weeks ago when I was doing Calder. So I said, how many weeks in a row are you doing major motorsport events and putting all his gear on? And he said, it's somewhere between 7 and 9 weeks straight that these guys, as volunteer or get a small amount of monetary remuneration for it. 7 to 9 weeks flat stick if they do every weekend and back it up. And that's That's a quarter of the year. That's 3 months of a year.
And it's not just one day. I mean, it's basically for a lot of them, it's 3 days.
Yep.
So because there's often Friday practice as well. So you've got sort of 3 days for 7 or 8. Yeah, private practice, and then and some things like, I mean, if you did Supercars, they had a Monday as well. They had Friday practice, 2 days of racing and qualifying, and then on Monday they had a drive day where they needed at least some officials out there to make sure everything was safe.
The new show you're bringing out, is it, Richard? Private practice?
Private practice. I think that's already been done.
I think that's country practice.
Yeah. Bendigo swap meet this weekend as well. So
I used to go there every year.
Yeah, so that's a really big one. They had some problems too. Once again, insurance reared its ugly head and messed them around badly. But anyway, so anyway, we've got Formula One. We've got all sorts of things. And we have a new race director again. And it's sounding like, they're saying that, FIA are saying that he's stood aside to move on to other areas. He's come out and said, I didn't stand aside. First thing I knew about it, I read it in the paper like everyone else. Pete, what do you think?
I don't know why, because there hasn't been that many. There hasn't been really any big controversies. Yeah, so I don't know why.
Well, there's a lot of people just leaving the FIA, and it's because of El Presidente, Mohammed bin Sulayman. A lot of them are just saying no. We don't like his style. We don't like the way he treats his staff. There was some talk that Niels Wittich was under a lot of pressure at Brazil, that there were a few people there who weren't happy with the way he ran things and some of his decisions over there. So, but either way, he's gone now. So there's another one, out the door. So since Charlie died, we've had our own Mike Massey, who is still copping it. I mean, I was listening to Midweek Motorsport this morning, and it would be safe to say that the British media have still not forgiven Michael Massey for their. I mean, they really hopped into him big time. Even now, sort of, the worst race director that Formula One had ever, incompetent before. They really hopped into him.
This week's British media theme has been the one that. Isn't it the Verstappen comment, whatever it is? So I don't want to give it any air. There's always a different theme to the British media every single week. It's a pain in the ass. But also there's a bit of reshuffling going on as far as Liberty Media as well too.
Yeah, that's right. But Pete, what were you going to say?
I think in Mexico with Max's 20-second penalty, I think it was Mexico, where he got the 2 penalties and they ended up being 20 seconds. I think that was a case of evening up the score. No doubt he did the things he did, but I think it was a case of being seen to do something
from the week
and
before.
Evening up the score. The week before where he got the 22 10-second penalties. I think it was a case of what umpires tend to do in AFL, where they even up.
Wait. Be careful here. You've got a VFL umpire on the screen here.
Wait.
He's fired up.
I better mute. I think we better be very careful there.
I just said he did make the things he was penalised for, but I think it was a case of. I think there was a little bit of a case of evening up the score and being seen to do something.
Yeah, I'm not sure who's
what you're saying, Pete. It was. No, I was going to say, Pete, is that FIA's form of NASCAR? Is it where you do get a quarter panel?
Not AFL. No, that's all right. We just got to be careful on who we associate here first. Yes, let's be very careful.
Yes, of course. AFL umpires are absolutely above board and have never done anything. Oh, hello to the one that was just being sacked for dressing up as an Arab and
Osama bin Laden. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. However, they've all done.
Perhaps that's what Niels did.
I'm going to get. I won't have to get my
Sullivan.
manager here.
Sullivan.
I won't have to get my press manager here, but I will categorically state I have never ever evened up a decision.
Yeah, no, I'm talking about the professional league. I'm not talking about the amateurs. I'm talking.
I don't think you should tar them all with the same brush either. But anyway.
Yeah, I think the statistics sometimes show that it happens. Yeah.
Bad choice of sport.
I'm with you. I'm with you. Hey, listen. What else have we got to talk about? I think that we've covered sort of just about everything. Adelaide on the weekend is going to be great. Macau will be fantastic. Oh, yeah, give us some Moto GP. Give us some Moto GP stuff.
Look, it's obviously at Barcelona. The change of venue. Brad and I have already done that to death a couple of weeks ago. Tragic circumstances, unfortunately. But so we'll move along a little bit. All pretty much summed up. Make sure you check it out. There'll be highlights on YouTube or go on to MotoGP app. Jorge Martin has got 25-point lead at the moment. Bagnaia is in the box seat. He's won more races in general and across the board. He seems to be able to be Mr. Cool when it comes to the business end, so he needs to be able to produce his best part of that. However, I like to do the bits and pieces, some of the arty type stuff is, especially when it comes to a former Moto GP champion on 2 occasions, is Mr. Casey Stoner has come out and had an opinion. And look, people take him out of context all the time, but he seems to have stated on the record this particular time that the sprint races are taking away the fun out of GP. It's taking the glamour and all that sort of stuff. He's making MotoGP too easy, and he's referring to the riders to a certain extent because it comes down to, he says that they're over-engineered. It's an engineer. It's a strategy type race from the engineering and the bike and the obviously the companies and also the manufacturers rather than the riders. So he's got every right to have his opinion, and whether it stays or whether it goes, and everyone will have their say, I'm sure, in the motorsport world. But look, I haven't found them to be too bad. Everyone seems to have been having that, whether it's the Supercars or Formula One or whatever it is. You never know. We might see it. They have a shorter format of it sometimes, and, it's popular in some ways and not in others. Whereas I think in Formula One, it's worked to a certain extent sometimes. You don't want the whole season full of sprint races, and you don't want a whole year without maybe a couple of thrown in with a dash of water. What do you guys think?
Pete, your view of the sprint races?
I don't know much about the bikes. I don't know much about the bikes, but I think they in Formula One I think there are too many practice sessions that are meaningless. So I think when there's a sprint race, it does add a bit of spice to the weekend, and it adds something to the weekend. The same as which they're going to drop next year. There'll still be faster slaps in a race, but points paying faster slaps they're going to drop next year. I think that's a mistake, because I think it adds, if it's a boring race and you've got people going for fast slaps who are eligible to get points, it adds another element to it.
Well,
takes away a drinking game.
It's all part of the game. It's also part of the strategy as well, as we saw, with McLaren, going for to rob. With Daniel Ricciardo to rob McLaren of that extra point, or take an extra point off Lando Norris. So, I think that it's quite entertaining. But I agree with Casey to an extent. To me, a Grand Prix is a Grand Prix, and that should be the focus of the weekend. It's like, and as I've said before, in terms of reporting on motorsport in mainstream media, and I've had to do this way in the past, people in the outside world just do not. The thing that you would be asked was, who won the big race? And you'd say, well, there were 3 big races. And they went, no, who won the main race? And it's like, well, actually, they're 3 separate rounds and they're all equal points. They go, mate, we don't care. pick a race and give us. We don't have time to mess around with 3 different races and who won this points and who won that points and who got this. We just want a race. That's all we want. We have a game of football. We have a game of cricket. We want a race. That's what we want.
What do you reckon, Richard?
Game of football, that's for sure.
Well, sorry, did you?
I think
don't
there's
get on
more
the
than
foot.
a game of football.
But it would be like as if they treated each of the quarters as a separate game. Can you imagine like the reports of a night? And meanwhile, in Collingwood and North Melbourne, Collingwood won the first quarter, and then in the second quarter, North Melbourne came back and the reports would go on. No, they just say, Collingwood beat so and so, and then Carlton beat them, and they
go
give
on
the results.
forever.
They do often talk about the long break, which is half time.
Sometimes, they do that now, but
Yeah.
I just think it complicates.
On another note,
matters
North
too
Melbourne
much.
sold 3 games to Western Australia this year. It's announced 2 days ago. Sorry if we get another footy. It's a footy show tonight. So I don't know what they got for selling the 3 games in WA. I'll get back to you next week.
And it's interesting. Often on the radio, mainstream radio, they don't report on the practice sessions. They only report on the qualifying and the race.
F1 you're talking about?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
well, I jump on YouTube and always check out the F1 and F2
Sometimes
and
you
F3
do.
sessions. I always jump on. Anyway.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, like for people like us, we'll watch anything that that comes up. I mean, I just finished watching the first practice session at a very wet Macau. I mean, it was.
Has it been on? Damn it.
Yeah, it was there. So that was the first practice session earlier today. There'll be more practice sessions and qualifying tomorrow. And remember, of course, the bikes are also the one of the most dangerous. I'll keep our fingers crossed because I think when we went and pretty much almost every year there was a
They're
fatality.
not racing bikes at Macau.
Oh, they've always raced bikes at Macau, and they've always had big accidents, and they've had quite a lot.
There is an important question, though. There's a more important question than it was whether it was raining or not. Macau is what temperature was it when it was raining, Brett? So what was the temperature?
It was if it. I don't know what the temperature was, but if it's anything,
I love
like
it when
the
it's
time
say
we
like
were,
24 to 27 and it's raining. That's just magic.
Yeah, well, I know when we were there, it was 30. It was 34 degrees, and the humidity was in the low 90s. It was like you could literally you walked out and you were soaking wet. By the time we'd walked from the media centre to the pit lane, it was like we'd have been in a torrential downpour. It was just so.
Need to borrow some of the aircon for the F1 cars in 25. By the way, when I say that's mandatory too, I don't think they will be mandatory for every race, but there'll be some sort of there'll be very strict regulations.
I'm sure they'll have like a wet.
They've all got to weigh a certain amount. They'll be very strict on like every car can have aircon, but these are the regulations, and it'll only be allowed to weigh like 200 grams total. And therefore, everyone is going to have exactly the same benefit for the drivers, because it's just a concern about the welfare after that race there earlier in the year.
There's another one, because you're not going up this year, right? Are you going up?
Including myself.
Oh, you are going up, are you?
I most certainly am. Yeah.
Good stuff.
Yeah. Certainly.
Okay, so that's one that I would really. Which one? Is the blue one repaired yet, or?
Blue one. The white one's been pulled apart at the moment. All this bent, mangled stuff has been dumped in a pile off the white one.
Sims metal.
But yes, the blue car is going up. What's that?
Okay.
I was just saying
I don't know.
Bent.
I don't know whether you've heard this. I don't know whether you've heard this rumor, Doc. You can comment on this, but Jimmy is saying there's a rumor that Valentino Rossi will return and race for his.
No, I'm not privy to that rumor yet.
Which wouldn't surprise me, actually.
Oh, for the VR46, I'll have to look that one up. Yeah.
That wouldn't surprise me at all.
Thanks, Jimmy. Let's give it something juicy, bit of an apple to bite onto. I'll have a look at that. Mr. VR46. Mr. Rossi.
He loved his drive of the BMW hypercar, and it's interesting to say that he was really surprised. He said he found it a lot more like riding the bike than he did with the GT3 car. He said just because of the precision of the handling, of the speed of cornering, and the speed. He said he felt very, very comfortable. So it wouldn't surprise me at all if at Le Mans we don't see Valentino behind the wheel of perhaps an extra BMW hypercar, and also it's looking it's almost been confirmed as fact that Stefan Vettel.
I just saw why some of the. I just
going
saw
to race at Le Mans as well.
There's
Porsche.
a couple of YouTube videos of. I see why Casey Stoner's back in the limelight a little bit. It was only released 2 years ago and it's had just under 60,000 views on YouTube. Mr. Casey Stoner, and I was over with VR and racing dirt bikes around the ranch, and I got a whole lot of footage of it. So that's probably why Casey's must have got the invite to. Probably it's just a standing invite any day of the week. So yeah, he's went over there and they've jumped on the dirt bikes and they're having a spin around Valentino's dirt track there, which they had looks like was a lot of fun. But no, I'll looking into that rumor because
that would be interesting if he did. So, certainly, I mean, because the other thing about it is obviously they're going to have a big crowd anyway. But the thing is, they are using the event to raise money for the flood victims. All of the ticket sales are going direct to the flood victims. So it wouldn't surprise me if somebody like Valentino, being the sort of guy he is, basically said, "Hey, listen, if you can find a wild card entry for me, I might just jump on there and bring a few."
At the moment, it's just a little bit of a rumor. There's nothing official anywhere. I'm going through some of the most reliable ones. Because remember, Ione is also came back and he's doing some stuff with VR46 as well too again. So I don't think, it's just a rumor at the moment. I wouldn't put. It'd be fantastic to see or hear, as Brett said. It'd be wonderful just about bring the world crowd to its feet. But
Well, I mean, he built it. Incidentally, speaking of Le Mans, just there, Le Mans completely sold out within 48 hours. Over 400,000 tickets sold within 48 hours, and that includes general. I actually went online to see what because someone said, it's pretty much sold out. I went online and checked out, and everything is sold out. I mean, all the general admission, all the grandstands, camping, everything, VIP, the lot, sold out. So the popularity of Le Mans is just is exploding at the moment.
From strength to strength.
Yeah, I mean, because I turned up on the day, and I just walked in on Wednesday, and the year that I didn't have media accreditation. Melissa had media. I didn't have media. I just walked to the gate and said, could I have a ticket, please? And it was like €50. So for a 4-day ticket, it was about sort of $80 for a 4-day ticket to the biggest race meeting in the world. And just got it at the gate. And Carolina, our newsreader if you remember Carolina, for viewers of the program, she came along on the Friday and did the same thing. Just rocked up there and said, can I have a ticket, please? Yeah, paid her money and walked through the gate. You don't do that anymore. It's the place is absolutely packed out.
Just dress up as an animal and
box. He wanted to know about the Marlboro the stunt team.
The stunt team, yes.
I got quite a lot of background on them.
Yes.
And the things they used to get up to when they weren't actually on, from a Marlboro Holden dealer team girl.
Be careful.
She fed me a lot of information about what those bad boys used to do.
Now, Richard, you don't. You're telling me that you know an ex-Marlboro Holden dealer team girl? Does your wife know about this?
Yes, I have met one. Yes. Yes. Yes, she does, actually.
All right, it's the middle of summer here, and we're treading on thin ice. Let's keep going with this. Let's get settled in.
And isn't that
you want some? Well, like on the Saturday night, what's that? Well, on Saturday night, they went back to their accommodation, which was at one of the farms, and they were doing stunt work at one of the farms, and one of the cars ended up in the dam.
Practice session, was it? Practice
So
sessions
far
jumping
into the dam,
dams.
the tractor got bogged getting it out.
Yeah. Tractor got bogged.
They had to
Toyota
stay
ran.
up all night and clean it up. Tractor got bogged getting it out.
Pressure washers were around back then.
They had to get a front end loaded.
The old Holder Precision Driving team
There
were
was
a big
late
feature.
Very sore heads next morning. Sorry, Brett.
Yeah, the Holder Precision Drive, that was a feature of
sore
every
heads.
Melbourne show. They were always there.
Up on two wheels.
Yeah, on two wheels, and holding fireworks out the windows. It was for a kid. It was like, whoa! It was the most amazing thing you ever saw in your life.
That's what you wanted to see in the main arena.
Hey, listen, we've come up to 1 hour, so I think we need to move off because some of us haven't had
Before it
dinner
becomes
yet.
before Richard goes R-rated.
Yeah, before they. I mean, yes, we don't want to full course yellow after dark. The adult version.
Yes.
Hey, listen, thank you very much for joining us. For everybody who's joining us now, be watching. Speaking of grassroots motorsport, our guest this week on In Pit Lane next Tuesday night will be the new. I'm not sure of his official title, but he's the man in charge at Motorsport Australia of club and state level racing. Club development officer at Motorsport Australia, and he's Bruce Asprey. Now, a lot of you would know Bruce as a regular competitor over many, many years at the grassroots level. So it's not like sort of, somebody who's come in from the world of, big business or other sports or all the rest of it. Bruce does come from big business. He was a major player with Jayco Caravans. He's now left them and he's now come to Motorsport Australia. And it's all part of there's a big shake-up happening at Motorsport Australia at the moment. We had Sunil Vora in earlier in the year. We had Lisa Crampton in at the start of this particular season. And for our second last show on Channel 31, we're going to have Bruce Asprey. He will be joining us as well. So be watching that. As I said, second last episode of In Pit Lane after 28 years. It all comes to an end over the next 2 weeks. So Bruce Asprey next week on In Pit Lane on Channel 31.
Jayco, you said, Brett?
Jayco, yep. Jayco
We could.
Caravans.
I've got a few questions off topic for him as well, though, too, because the Gambi's owned by the Jayco conglomerate owner as well, too. So if he was in the Jayco, he's in that sort of conglomerate. I can find, maybe you'll bring a nice bottle of red along from the Gamby for us as well too. This anyway.
Well, I'm not sure. He's just coming in by himself, as far as I mean.
No representation.
But anyway, whatever, he will be coming in, and then we'll be saying goodbye to In Pit Lane on Channel 31. November 27th on Channel 31 will be our final show, unfortunately, on Channel 31. So we'll see you next week. Hopefully here on Full Course Yellow. Until then, whatever you're having a look at, there's plenty to see this weekend. But until we see you next week from Full Course Yellow and on In Pit Lane, thanks for joining us, everybody, and we'll see you later. Bye for now.
Enjoy all the racing.
Good night.